Hey everyone, Once Bitten here with another battle report. So had another game last night that was just great. A 5,000 point game each side, tons of models on the table. My opponent and I decided ahead of time to put together a list that would incorporate all of the models we had for our given armies that were painted, and it came to about 4,000 points. And so then we decided to throw in another 1,000 points of Storm of Magic monsters. So played on an 8x4 table, just a regular pitched battle, no magic terrain or anything, and just had a great time. Really beautiful looking game. So I'll go briefly over what's there, but I'll leave all the notes for the details. So on my far right, he's got a Mana Core and 10 Chaos Knights. And moving over from that, 10 Chaos Warriors, and then with them he's got a level 2 Sorcerer, Lore of Fire. He's got a Bone Grinder Giant. And that thing is just a beast. It's out of the Storm of Magic book. I think it comes in just under 400 points, and I would consider it a bargain at that. It can thunder stomp anything, including cavalry. Stubborn 10. Toughness 7, 10 wounds. So I'm glad I have my heroic killing blow general. Otherwise, how do you address something like that? Anyway, so he's got 2 Chaos Spawns, unit of Fast Cav, another level 2 sorcerer, this one with the Lore of Death. So he's got a horde of 50 marauders. He wanted to bring 3 hordes of 40, but he didn't have the right movement trays. He had misplaced one. So he ended up bringing 2 units of 50 and then a smaller unit of 20. So he gave him flails, Mark of Corn. They're pretty killy. With them, he's got his level 4 sorcerer, Lore of Heavens. Next to them, he's got his chosen unit, and with a War Shrine right behind it, of course. And in with the Chosen, he has an Exalted Hero, Battle Standard Bearer. So then is his small unit of Marauders, and he put his Chaos Lord in there. So even though they're a relatively small unit, with the Chaos Lord, they are plenty killy. He's got his Hell Cannon, Shaggoth behind it, and then his third unit of Marauders, this one again 50, and again with another Exalted Hero in with them, and then some more Fast Cav. So looking at that, I don't think I can go toe-to-toe with Warriors of Chaos with my units for the most part. But I have a lot more units than he does, and I have better mobility. So my thinking, I was putting a lot of cheap troops or flying troops all across the board, trying to get him to think that I was spread out across the board, and then I threw everything I cared about in the lower right-hand corner. So I have 4 Peg Knights on my far left flank, 10 skirmishing bowmen, and a trebuchet. And the skirmishing bowmen are really there just to, in theory, to protect the trebuchet from Fast Cav. I have a Great Eagle, put him there, I want to be able to keep some of his infantry tied up on this side of the board while my knights come over from the right flank. Some Questy Knights, I went ahead and threw them here really because there was no room on the right for them, and I thought it wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of leadership over here in case I needed it. I've got 20 bowmen on that hill, and yes, we're treating that just as a hill. Behind those bowmen, I've got a great red dragon. I know it looks green, but I don't like the rules for green dragons. I like it for red. Got a Grail Relique with 14 battle programs, 5 Fast Cav, 49 men-at-arms with a Paladin with the Virtue of Empathy. Then I've got Horde Formation men-at-arms, and this one I put the level 2 Damsel Lore of Beast, and she has got the magic item that gives them the same ward save as the Knights. In front of them are 3 more Peg Knights. Behind them is my General Heroic Killing Blow Lord. Next to them, then I have all my Knights. So on the left I've got a dozen Knights Errant. Then I've got 9 Knights of the Realm with 3 characters. A level 4 Lore of Heavens, Battle Standard Bearer, and then another Lord, this with Virtue of Confidence, Healing Potion, Glittering Scales. Just kind of a funky build. I kind of liked it. I gave that unit the Standard of Discipline because I wanted that Lord to be my general, and I forgot that because I have 2 units of Pegasus Knights, my Lord on a Pegasus has to be my general. So anyway, then I've got 12 Knights of the Realm with the Flaming Banner, 6 Grail Knights. Then I've got a Great Taurus with the Flaming Breath upgrade, a Griffin with the Razorbeak upgrade, and another Trebuchet. And yes, that took a while to get set up, but it sure looked pretty when it was on the table. So there's a look down the lines. And you can see how I heavily weighted my right flank, and if anything, he heavily weighted his right flank, which of course would be my left. And so I really like that. I think it gives, at least gives me the opportunity to overwhelm the far flank from this point of view, and then bring my guys over, and his guys will have to turn, and hopefully I'll be able to hit him one of his units at a time, kind of gang up on him. So my son took a couple pictures. Yeah. All right, so we go to the Vanguard phase. I move up a couple. His fast cav in the middle of the top stayed where they are because he wanted to charge me. We both Vanguard on the far left. And we go to Warriors turn 1. So I thought he kind of had a clever move with his mana core. If you look on the right-hand side, he flew him up just behind that piece of impassable terrain so that I couldn't charge him, and allow him to probably not charge a whole lot, but at least he could easily fly behind my lines. He throws his bone grinder giant forward. It's movement 10. I mean, the thing is awesome. I really don't want to charge it with anything, if we're being honest. I want to charge it with my general, and I screwed up. He's at the far lower left corner. I needed him up front so he could get the charge off first turn, and by the time I placed him, there was no room for him. There's no room in front of the men-at-arms because the peg knights were there, and I couldn't squeeze him in and keep an inch away from everything. So, kind of an epic fail on my part. That bone grinder is a perfect thing to throw in the midst of a bunch of knights. Anyway, otherwise, he moves up, as you can see. His fast cav charged my fast cav. I fled, stopped in front of my Grail Relique. And in case I forget to say it later, on my next turn, needing a 9 to rally, they fail it and they run off the board, causing a panic test on my dragon, which which scared me, but he passed it. Anyway, otherwise, this is how he's moving on the left. So during the magic phase, he gets the comet off with irresistible force with his level 4. So his level 4 takes a wound, kills a few guys in his unit, not a big deal, and there's a comet right there. And again, look where the bone grinder giant is at the upper right. He's not the kind of thing my units are going to be able to blow through very easily. And so for the most part, a lot of my guys are going to be stuck right here where this comet is. And I thought that was a very good move on my opponent's part. His Hell Cannon drops a rock on drops something on my dragon, takes a couple wounds off of it. And we go to Bretonnia turn 1. So for the most part, anything on my left isn't really racing forward. For the most part, I just want to be there, and I want these units just to hold his stuff up until my knights can come and help him out. An exception would be my Pegasus Knights that charged one of the Chaos Spawn in the upper middle. And over here, this was kind of weird. I parked my general. I didn't charge the Bone Grinder Giant because I didn't think I could make it. I think I needed a 10, and I didn't want to risk it. I didn't want him charging my troop. So I parked him an inch away from the giant such that he really couldn't do anything except charge me or be charged on my next turn. Just what happened, though, on his turn is he said that because it's a single model, you get all the pivots you want. And I agreed you can. And so he pivoted and then charged one of my knight units. And both of us thought that's the way it was played. And then I looked it up this morning and realized that you can pivot all you want, but not when you charge. So it ends up being not a bad move on my part, but as far as the game goes, it was an epic fail because he just skirted right around my lord. So anyway, I moved up, as you can see. I purposely didn't charge my knights into that thing. I just really was worried about getting everything tied up for a while. And there's only so many, because I think I would have been in his front with everything. So, put my Griffin there on the far right. It looks like I'm going for his mana core. Actually, I'm looking to line him up into the flank of his Chaos Knights to support other charges into them. That Razorbeak upgrade is an extra attack with no armor save. So, otherwise, you can see how I'm moving. Not really sure what I'm going to do with that dragon. I kind of like the idea of him supporting with some infantry charges later. I'm not sure he's even going to be alive. Move my Peg Knights up. Not sure yet what I want to do with them. I don't think they can last against these big infantry units, even if I get in the flank. But a lot of times, opportunities arise just by keeping them behind his lines. So after combat, I was only able to do 2 wounds on the spawn, and he did 1 wound back, and he stayed just fine. So that's going to hurt because he has another spawn nearby that's going to be able to countercharge me in the rear, and that's going to hurt my knights. So really hoping to take that thing out and blow on by him. So we go to Warriors Chaos turn 2. You can see his Bone Grinder just kind of did a pivot and went around my Lord and charged my Knight unit, which is going to hurt. His Mana Core flew up kind of to on my flank, which I thought was a good move. Now my Great Taurus is really on the lower left of the screen, and I put him there so that the Mana Core couldn't go anywhere without my Great Taurus being able to charge him. So at least there's that. Yeah, that was such an epic fail. I was so mad at myself for thinking I could stop an inch in front of him and keep him from charging my guys. So I feel better about it today, knowing that is actually a decent strategy. There's the second Chaos spawn in the rear of my Peg Knights. Otherwise, he moves up, as you can see. You can see he's bringing his Marauders on horse at the lower left. So they're lining up. They might be able to make a charge into my Trebuchet next turn. But that's why I have Skirmishing Bowmen there. So they'll step down, and at least a few of them will be able to shoot. And more importantly, if I need to, I can block them so those guys can't get to my Trebuchet. They'll have to charge my Bowmen. And I'll get to stand and shoot and all that kind of stuff. During the magic phase, this Lore of Death Sorcerer takes a wound off my Paladin. And so I kill the one spawn, and the other one doesn't do any wounds to me, but with a charge and being in the rear, broke me in combat, didn't run me down. So that was nice, but I'm not really in a great position. And yeah, the blurry pictures because the Bone Grinder Giant was stomping all over the place. I actually felt really, really fortunate here. He killed 3 knights, and that's it. I think his Thunder Stomp, he rolled a 1. And I just made some good ward saves. So I really couldn't ask for anything more. I was steadfast on a 9 rerollable, so that wasn't a problem. The thing is, I put 2 wounds on the giant. He's got 8 more. I don't know what I'm going to do about him. So Bretonnian turn 2. Well, I had some good plans. The plan was that first off, the Great Taurus charges Mana Core on the right, so that worked out. My BSB in that big unit was going to charge the Chaos Knights, and they don't need much, probably about a 4 on 3 dice, and they fail it. And that really hurt, because then I just took my Grail Knights into the side of the Bone Grinder, and I just have my Knights errant come in the other flank of the Bone Grinder, and with all those attacks, even though I need 6s to wound, at least have a decent chance of killing them, and if not, maybe next turn killing them. But when my BSB failed its charge, now they're stuck right by where the comet's going to explode. The Knights Errant are stuck right where the comet's going to explode. My Grail Knights are probably going to get stomped to death by this stupid Bone Grinder Giant. And then I have my General and the Griffin against a unit of 10 Chaos Knights with the Rapturous Standard, which means they're probably not going to go anywhere, and I'm not going to last too long in that fight. So, I was thinking, at this point, I'm thinking, with a very small part of his army, he is tying up all my big hitters. Darn it. Ugh. That's, he has a champion, and so I'll be able to save my general just by getting a challenge with the champion. But for the most part, we're not going to, odds are we're not going to last long in that fight. So these are the men-at-arms with the ward save. The damsel left them on my first turn, and so on my second turn, they charge the small unit of warriors. I like my odds on this. There's a sorcerer in this unit, and on his magic phase, he got off a relatively minor spell. I let it through and used the hex scroll that turns his sorcerer into a frog. He's level 2, so he had to roll a 1 or 2 not to become a frog, and he couldn't do it. So what I'm hoping is to kill a sorcerer. Now he issues a challenge with that guy, and I accept because I don't want to lose the ward save, and so my champion doesn't have nearly as good a chance of killing him as if I had a whole bunch of guys. But anyway. Yeah, here was another epic fail. So I charged my giant and my Grail Relique and my other 50-man block of men-at-arms into this unit, and both infantry units fail. Darn it. So then during combat, the dragon allocates all of his attacks on that level 4 sorcerer who already has 1 wound. He has 2 wounds remaining. I figured, the wounds I do against his marauders aren't going to matter in the long run. Might as well take that sorcerer off the board. I don't do a single wound on him with a great dragon. And then I forgot to do my flaming attack. Darn it. Yeah. Let's see. I moved my bowman over. I wanted to be able to shoot, and so I didn't march them, and so I had to go into this weird formation, so only 6 guys are going to be able to shoot. But it's better than nothing. And my Peg Knights, I decided to go ahead and charge the Hell Cannon. I didn't love it. I don't think I'm going to be able to last long against the Hell Cannon, but every round I last, he's not going to be able to shoot at me. And so, I like that. And one thing my opponent explained to me as well is that the Hell Cannon is a monster. So when he goes to shoot, he doesn't have 360 like a War Machine does. So if he ever turns to face me and wins on his next turn, he can move to face the battlefield, but he won't be able to shoot that turn. And if he stays this way, then I'm in his flank, and it's a better chance of me sticking around and holding him up in combat. So just trying to take that thing out of the game, even if I can't kill it. So then, let's see, he got this comet off on the top of turn 1, and so then we went to the bottom of turn 1, top of turn 2, and then the bottom of turn 2, and that's when the comet explodes. And it was ugly. Well, you can see what it did. It ripped my Knights Errant apart. They went from 12 to 4. It took my Knights of the Realm that are with the Bone Grinder Giant down from, let's see, they had 9 left, and so it took them from 9 to 4. And luckily only killed one of my BSB's unit, but that's because they had MR2 on top of their ward save already. So at this point, in all honesty, my opponent and I are both ready just to call it a game, pack things up. I wouldn't do that. It took too long to get to this point. I figured let's just see what we can do. But these are my heavy hitters, and I just got a lot of them off the board. So yeah. So I had some good luck in the shooting phase. My bowman killed 2 of his marauders on horse, and they failed their panic test and ran off the board. I'm glad they were not marked with corn. So that was nice. My trebuchet drops a rock on the Shaggoth's head, and I wound him, and then when I rolled the number of wounds, I get, I think, 5 or 6. Whatever it was, I killed it. So that was huge. That's a lot of points, and that thing can do a lot of damage. So, okay, I'll take that. So after combat, I'm starting to get, after all the bad luck earlier on, now the luck's turning around a little bit. My Great Taurus did not kill the Manicore, but I did beat it in combat, and he ran off the board, so I just reformed with that. In this combat, I put a bunch of wounds on that Bone Grinder Giant. I don't know how many, but obviously not 10. He decides to pick on my Grail Knights, and he rolls the kind of attack where he picks them up and stuffs them in his pants or something like that. And so he picked up there's a Grail Knight sticking in the shorts of this giant. Picked up a second one, lost him, and then he was done with that. And then he rolled for his Thunderstomp, and again rolled a 1 and couldn't get past my ward save. So I think I'm getting really, really lucky, because these Knight units, for all intents and purposes, could easily be dead. And they're not, so I will take that. Yeah, these Men-at-Arms, I love that ward save on them. They lost a bunch to those Chaos Warriors, but they killed a ton of them. Just they needed 5s to hit, and I hit just a bunch. So beat him in combat. I was unable to kill the Sorcerer. I was unable to run him down. But if he rallies on his turn, then on my turn I can just charge him again. So in this combat, I think my general whiffed on his champion, and so we're still in a challenge, and that's actually probably good for me. That's probably saving my general's life. But amazingly, the Griffin in the flank here, kills a knight. They don't do any wounds to that Griffin. I mean, I know there's only 2, but that should be 3 attacks. These guys are friendly, so 6 attacks total, plus the mounts, and they don't do any wounds on them. So, wow. Yeah, I win combat, and we stick around. So now they're not frenzied from this point on, so that's nice. So this combat, again, amazing. I did no wounds on that Chaos Sorcerer. Now he's got a 4-up ward, so, whatever, but wow. He does 4 wounds on me with all those, the flails. So that didn't go very well. Broke from combat. I got away at least, but yeah, that was my turn. And I'm sitting in front of his lines. That did not go well. That Great Fire Dragon did not perform well at all. Now, here's the good news. The horde of marauders had to pursue him, and so they're like the closest infantry to me, and so he's turned the wrong way, and he's kind of blocking everybody. And so I really just, I don't like the Great Dragon failing so much, but I like that his infantry is kind of all bottled up on this side of the board, and it's giving me a chance to turn things around with my knights on the other side. I do no wounds to him, he does no wounds to me, and I'll take that. I'll sit there the rest of the game with him and be happy, because if it keeps him from shooting at me. So we go to Warriors of Chaos turn 3. So nothing much happening on the right because we're already locked in combat. His Chaos Warriors in the very top rally. If you look at the very top, he charges my Peg Knights with his Fast Cav and his whatever that stupid thing is. Oh, I'm blanking out. Anyway, so he double charges my Peg Knights. I just stand. I figured it's not wonderful odds for me, but it's okay. Another reason I stood is he was so close with his Marauders on horse that he couldn't wheel enough to get that many in combat. I think only 2 are in combat. This Horde unit, he just had to reform. I kind of made a blunder here. He charged my dragon with his general's unit on the far left, and the dragon, of course, had to flee. Then his BSB's unit, the Chosen, charged my eagle, and my original intent was to flee, but then I didn't want him to charge the dragon and catch him. And for some reason, I had it in my mind that my dragon, instead of flying away, would just be killed. And I think my opponent was even telling me, he's like, no, he would flee again, and it just wasn't registering. It was so weird. So I stayed with the eagle, hoping I could get lucky. He'll probably kill the eagle, overrun, and maybe he won't catch the dragon. But I liked how it kind of blocked his other troops in there. In hindsight, that was probably a mistake. Otherwise, you can see he's trying to get his troops over, but really he just kind of can't. This guy, just so you know, he's kind of sitting out there, this sorcerer, and I've been shooting 20 bowmen at him every turn and just unable to hit him. I mean, he had hard cover saves with those marauders, and then the 3-up lookout sir. That's kind of funny. He just stood out there and let me shoot arrows at him, confident that I wasn't going to be able to hurt him, and he was right. So after combat, yeah, the Chosen totally. There's nothing left of my eagle but a big puff of feathers. They overrun. They hit the dragon. The dragon goes away, causes a panic test in my my bowmen, who need an 8 because the knight's nearby, and they fail it and run away. And I'm actually kind of okay with that as long as they rally. They can rally on a 9 because they're within 6 inches of my questy knights, and they have a musician. So actually kind of worked out okay. I hate losing that dragon, but he couldn't even kill a sorcerer lord. So this was crazy. This round of combat, my general kills his champion, maybe even a couple times over. I don't know. The griffin kills another knight, maybe 2. They do 1 wound on the griffin. I win combat. He's steadfast on whatever his leadership is, and he has the rapturous standard. And he rolls a 5 and a 6 and runs away, and my griffin chases him down. Wow. I'll take it. That was huge. I did not pursue with my general. I just turned him so he could get rid of that bone giant, or at least help. I think that I've done 7 wounds on it. I need 6s to wound, and so, but there's just been a lot of attacks going at that guy. So, anyway, there's that. And this one was great. So I get all my attacks in, and that's when I get him down to, I believe, he's sitting on 3 wounds left. And we roll for his attacks, and it's the one that says, combat's over, you win by 2. And, and I'm thinking, that's awesome, because you can win by 2 all you want. I'm steadfast on a 8 or a 9 rerollable. And you can't kill my knights, and there's no thunderstomp because combat's over. You just win by 2. I think that's a big disadvantage for that bone grinder giant, and I loved it. So I didn't lose knights this turn. and my hope is to kill him off next turn before he can hurt my knights anymore. So I think he's great against cavalry, but it's not working this game with what he's rolling. So he double charged me, and my knights stuck around. I was very happy with that. My Griffin should be able to help out with that combat on my next turn. And over here, he actually puts a wound on a peg knight. I do no wounds on him still, and I'm happy as can be. So we go to Bretonnia in turn 3. So yeah, there's the 7 wounds on the Bone Grinder Giant. My general comes in. He's got heroic killing blow. Very excited for that. And I need that guy off the board. The men-at-arms, they beat these Chaos Warriors once. They'll go and do it again. And my Griffin comes into the flank of the stupid thing that I can't remember the name. I'm blanking out. So this time, both of my infantry units do make their charge. And this is going to be rough. I mean, he's got flails. He's strength 5. They're frenzied, so it's just a ton of attacks. But you know what? This is holding up all the rest of his guys. He can't really move his stuff if I can just hold up here. And he's going to do a lot of wounds on me, probably will win, but my Grey Relique is stubborn, and my men-at-arms will be steadfast. I've got that paladin there, giving him leadership 8 for the steadfast. So if I can just hold these guys up long enough, I'll be very, very happy with that. Over here, really, there's nothing he has that I want to take my Questy Knights into. So I just move him over. I'm going to either make him come chase me around those houses, which would be very awkward, and his horde formation guys aren't going to be able to do it. Or ignore me, and if he ignores me, then I'll reform and pose a threat to his rear with my Questy Knights. Ideally, not charging in on the first turn of any combat, but coming in later. So I'm just moving over. So in this combat, it was so funny. The men-at-arms whoop up again on the Chaos Warriors, and I do not pursue them. I don't pursue him. So I roll to restrain, he rolls to get away, and he rolls a 4 and is still on the damn board. So instead of reforming to face the rest of the battle, I reform so that if he runs off the board, I can still wheel around and keep on going, and if he doesn't, I can charge him again. It's still kind of funny. You can see the Griffin is there all alone. He charged in and killed that that thingamajig, and my Peg Knights beat the fast cav in combat, did not chase him down. So my general comes in here and gets heroic killing blow on the giant, which I thought was wonderfully fluffy and very good in game terms. So I reformed the Knights of the Realm, and at least now we're facing the rest of the combat. So that's what it looks like when it's all said and done. Now that's what I was trying to do from the beginning. I got held up longer than I wanted to be, and I'm losing a lot of knights because of that stupid comet. But for the most part, that was kind of the plan. Yeah, there's where the Peg Knights beat the Marauders in combat, couldn't chase them down. Over here, yeah, he killed a bunch of my guys. I killed quite a few of his. He won, and I made both of my tests. My Paladin's in a challenge with his unkillable Chaos Lord. I swear, I did no wounds on him. He didn't do any on me. We stick around. And here, I do no wounds on him. He does no wounds on me, and we stick around. Because I'm winning these combats. I'm in the flank, so I'm winning combat by 1. And even if he does 1 wound on me, I'm in his flank, and then I have a musician, so I win by 1. So I'm winning all these combats, but he's unbreakable. So we go to Warriors of Chaos turn 4. At the very top right, his remaining Chaos Warriors rally. His fast cav rallies. Otherwise, he decides not to charge my Bowman with his BSB chosen unit. Instead, he just wheels around, which I think is probably the right thing to do. Now he poses a threat to their flanks, to my knights that are coming up, and everything else. And there's nothing I have on the table that can stand up to those chosen. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Now, by the way, during my magic phase, I got harmonic convergence off on my men-at-arms, and that was helpful. Over here, his general's unit, the small marauder unit, charged my Questy Knights, he needed a 10 to make it, and he failed it, and that was perfect. Because now, again, it's just one more wasted turn with the Chaos Lord that's not getting into a fight. His Horde at the top reforms. And yeah, so he put another wound on a Peg Knight. We're still sitting there. He did a wound on me. I have a flank. I have a musician, so I win by 1, and we sit. And I'm very happy with that. The best he can do now, I guess, is 2 more rounds of shooting, and if things keep going like they are, he won't shoot the rest of the game, and that would be just wonderful. So after combat, yeah, he was at strength 3, and even with strength 3, he just did a ton of wounds on my guys. Enough to break him anyway. I was steadfast. He killed his Sorcerer Lord killed my Paladin in a challenge, and therefore my men-at-arms were steadfast 6, and that was not enough. They broke. And my Grail Relique was stubborn 8, and they stuck around. So very, very, very happy with how that's going. So we go Bretonnia turn 4. Sorry about the blurry picture. So one thing I did, the bowman at the bottom charged into the flank of his chosen unit. And the reason I did that, I know he's going to destroy my guys. I don't think he's going to kill all of them. I want him to kill enough of them that he wins combat and then has to pursue me, which means he's facing my table edge, he's not facing my troops, and there you go. So very happy to sacrifice the bowman that way. I have a real good chance if I lose of still getting away, and on his turn there's a good chance he's not even going to chase me. He'll probably want to turn towards the combat. So I don't really feel like I'm risking that much with the bowman. Otherwise, I bring my troops up. Really, when I have the unit of 4 knights left, there's not a whole lot I want to do with them, but I want to bring them up just in case I feel like I need them. The men-at-arms that have broken from combat rallied. The men-at-arms charge this unit for the 3rd time. They have this attitude about them that, we've done it before, we'll kill you again. Big bunch of combo charges here. Now the bad news is, on his magic phase, he got a comet off right behind that Great Taurus. And if he rolls the distance far enough, he's going to hit a whole bunch of my units with it. But what you going to do? So got the combo charges in. I like that the Marauders aren't strength 5 because they're still locked in combat with my Grail Relique, so they're only strength 3. So I'm very confident of putting a real hurt on them. They're not going to be steadfast. They're not going to get their rank bonuses. He's in trouble. My Peg Knights at the top right charge his Marauders again. Or not again, but they charge him. And again, over here, I just bring my Questy Knight so that his general's unit cannot charge him. So on his unit, I think he's going to turn his general's unit, and on my next turn, I'll just turn my guys around and move them back up, just to be a pain. So my Peg Knights actually charged his level 2 Lore of Death sorcerer who fled, and then they redirected into his Marauders. Well, where you see that card, that's where he was at, and during my magic phase, I went ahead and did the Thunderbolt on that unit. I'm just wondering, can you cast a magic missile out of combat? And if you cannot, then I cheated unknowingly. If you can, then everything else was good. So my level 4 cast that, killed his Lore of Death sorcerer. And the comet went off. Actually, this was before the magic phase, of course. And yeah, it didn't do it killed a few peasants, but more importantly, it took the last couple wounds off my Great Taurus. So that was kind of a bummer. So my men-at-arms finally killed his his Chaos Warriors, and they reform. The Griffin's sitting there because he tried to charge into that big combat and he failed his charge. And when all said and done, yeah, we whooped up on him. So I chased him down. I pursued with the Grail Relique and with the unit of knights. The Grail Relique ran far enough to get into his War Shrine, and I knew my knights would be behind them, and that's kind of what I wanted. And I didn't pursue with my big unit of knights because I don't want to be any closer to his other infantry yet. I don't want them to get in there alone. He obviously killed. I think he killed 12 of my bowmen. I broke, and I ran 9 inches and just barely went off the board. So regardless, he had to chase me, so he's not facing anything. He can charge his turn, and I'm happy enough with that. So we go to, yeah, there's what it looks like at the end. And there's the other side of the board. If you look at the top middle, my Peg Knights beat his Marauders, and so they're free. Then we go to Warriors Cast turn 5. So his BSB chosen unit just does a swift reform and moves forward. I think his Horde charged my Grail Relique and failed the charge. And that would have been good for him because he easily would have killed it and then overran and had a good chance of getting the charge into my Knight of the Realm unit there at the top, and that would have really hurt me. But he failed it. He did swift reform with his general's unit there at the bottom. Yeah, there we go. Grail Relique. I know it's going to die, but it's just sitting around, stubborn 8. I love that thing. So there's what my right looks like. Really, I kind of just backed up that unit of knights there behind the hill because I don't want to get in combat with only 4 guys left. I don't really think they can do a whole lot. I did go ahead and keep my Grail Knights forward just to give myself some options. And I charged my general into the flank of the Chosen, in all seriousness, just because it's not a tournament game. He's got a champion and a BSB. And there's going to be 3 rounds of combat, and I don't think I'll kill both of them in 3 rounds of combat, or in the first 2. As long as I'm in a challenge, I think my Lord might be able to kill the character, and he's not going to get killed. And I think he has to accept challenges. So that's the reason I did it. I charged with my Grail Knights in the flank too. They failed their charge, but as soon as I declared the charge, I wish I hadn't, and I was very, very happy that they failed it. If you look at the top, there's unit of knights. Looks like they're running away. They're not. I just did a swift reform and moved away. Same thing, just trying to conserve points. There's not enough knights there to do a whole lot. And of course, they're still there. Took Peg Knights into the other flank of the Hell Cannon for no good reason except for I thought it'd be fun to roll more dice. I don't think I'm going to kill it. The other knights are doing their job, keeping it tied up. So just rolling dice, just having fun at that point. So we come down here. He had a hard time deciding if he wanted to accept with his BSB or with his champion. He finally decided just to accept with his champion, and I got 3 heroic killing blows on him. I mean, I really wish that would have been his BSB. That would have been just fantastic. But so I kill the champion. Next time it'll be his BSB over there. And after combat, he just did 1 more wound to my Grail Relique, so we're sitting around. And we go to Warriors Chaos turn 6. So I must have forgotten to take a picture before that combat, but basically his that Marauder unit charged in there and I think he rolled dice, but I picked up the model before he did because I knew that I would just be toast. And so he killed the Grail Relique and then overran. We're still locked in combat over here. And then we go to Bretonnia's turn 6. So I don't want to charge anything of that chosen unit. I'm just letting my general kind of hold them up. I did charge my big block of knights into his general's unit with my Griffin. And it was funny because I was, again, if this was a tournament, I just would have ended the game because I'm winning in points. So I think it was one of these turns of combat. It may have been this one. My level 4 gets off Curse of the Midnight Wind and makes him re-roll all of his 6s. And then gets off, but in the process, she lost 3 wizarding levels, lost all her spells except Harmonic Convergence. So that wasn't good. I think that was a round ago. She could finally cast spells again, but she only had 1 spell to cast, and she got off Harmonic Convergence on that unit, which really does make a big difference. Anyway, I tried to charge my Questy Knights into the rear of that unit. I think that would have been just beautiful, having just danced around all game and actually gotten to combat the last turn, but they failed the charge. So, yeah, his Hell Cannon decides to start killing stuff at this point. But we're still locked in there. And this was insane. So I charge in, and the Green Knight model has to declare challenges, but I get to reroll hits and wounds. His Chaos Lord accepts the challenge. And for all, I mean, I'll never put up a Bretonnian Lord against a Chaos Lord. But anyway, um, yeah, he doesn't do anything to my guy. He may have done a wound on him, and then my guy with 4 attacks puts 3 wounds on the Chaos Lord and kills him. The unit totally demolishes that unit of Marauders. He couldn't attack rank and file guys because I had 2 characters and a champion, so he allocated attacks on the champion and killed it. And we just removed a rank and file model from the back. That's why that guy's out there to the side. But other than that, I just destroyed him, ran him down, and was a very fitting end to a very unlucky game of rolling ever since turn 2 for my opponent. So at the end of the day, it looked like that. So yeah, my general and his BSB ended up just kind of stalemating after a while. It was because it was towards the end of the game that strategy worked. If it was earlier in the game, eventually I might have killed his BSB, and then those chosen would have just killed my guy. I was also lucky not to run away from combat because he had a couple banners and a couple ranks, and all I had was a flank. So he was winning combat, but my guy was sticking around. So I kind of got lucky there. Um, so at the end of the game, yeah, Bretonians actually lost relatively little. Lost a couple monsters and some low point units. Uh, most of my points are still on the board. He lost really almost everything he had. So, but whatever. What a fun game. I don't know if you can hear the enthusiasm, but I'm telling you, these larger games, and especially with Storm and Magic monsters on the board, they just feel more epic. Just a whole lot of fun. Anyway, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it.